What's going on, guys? Wanted to do a little how-to on how to keep and kind of raise and breed blackworms, and give a little bit of tips and tricks and info that I've learned firsthand from keeping these guys. Uh, First, I just want to let you guys know kind of how I got into blackworms and actually found them. To a lot of people, they aren't a big deal, and for me, they kind of are, because all I knew before them was bloodworms and brine shrimp, and so I was very limited to the amount of live food I could offer, as well as to be able to have on hand at all time, because you have to go buy and restock up on this food. So my search and quest began for a live food that I could actually breed and have on hand all times, and not have to depend on a pet store, fish store for the food source. And I actually ended up stumbling into these guys when I owned the fire eel. He did not eat any offered foods that was processed, frozen, or anything like that. It was all live, and I got into buying bloodworms at first, and they just didn't keep well very long. And I went to go buy the bloodworms again, because I'd have to always constantly buy them, and they were out, and ended up having these guys. So I got introduced to them that way, and been keeping them just basically fridge style, how they're kept when they're at the pet store and everything else. But here recently, I'm kind of just getting interested in having them on hand all the time, certain type of live food on hand all the time, and everything else. So it's good. It's very good. They're very nutritious and delicious. So when getting the worms from your fish store, there's a few things to just consider and look at before you go ahead and purchase the worms. First off, I've seen several times where stores were selling bloodworms as blackworms, and then also they were having bloodworms mixed in with the blackworms. You want to really make sure you're getting blackworms, because blackworms are more expensive than bloodworms, and they also do not keep as long as the blackworms. So that is one of the main things you want to look out for. And then number two, depending on how long these guys have actually been in a refrigerator, they might not be viable to actually pull back out of this state that they've been in and feed up. So what you're going to want to look at is actually the shape the worm is in. You're going to want to look and make sure there's not a lot of gray, dead, gunky ass worms just floating around. Now the worms are going to be still. They're not going to be moving because they're refrigerated. But you can see that there's worms, and they're intact and they look good, and you can tell when a worm is like deteriorated or dead. It's gray. It doesn't look like a worm. The next step, what I do is, this is depending on whether you're going to go ahead and refrigerate it, or you're going to go ahead and do it like I'm going to do, which is put them at room temperature setting and let them do their thing. If you're going to refrigerate it, regardless if you're doing that or this, I would go ahead and wash the worms out. I do not recommend feeding your fish these worms right away either, or any live food right away. I recommend you washing it out and then kind of like quarantining that live food like you would a fish for a little bit, and checking out the live food and feeding it up itself if you can, or even store it in the refrigerator for a while, and that's just to be safe. I don't recommend feeding it right away to your fish. Get it in your house, wash it, prepare it right before you give it to your animals. That's just risky. If you don't, you're risking some stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and let these guys, because they're not going in the refrigerator again, I'm going to let these guys go ahead and sit out and get to room temp, and then we're going to transfer them into the jar right here, and we're going to go ahead and wash the snot out of them. We're going to wash the poopy out of them, and we're going to just wash the crap out of them, and all the gunk and gook and everything else we're going to wash out of them. All the dead ones that are in there we're going to wash out, and we're going to get all the fresh ones in here going. While the worms are warming up, I'll give you a quick overview of my little cultivation system here. You see to the right I have like a 1.5, 2-gallon jar, and then I have the 10-gallon tank. The gallon jar right here that I use is just basically because it's super easy to clean the new coming worms. They're super dirty at first, and you have to clean them for a few days before they get into the swing of things, and they can actually eat, and they're balancing themselves out and keeping the water clean. It's amazing how clean they can actually keep the water column. I was very surprised at that. But and you don't want to mix the new and old worms, because like I said, you want to quarantine the old ones, and the new ones. Make sure they're eating right, make sure they are safe to feed to your animals. So that's why I have the jar on the right. It's just easier to clean and move around and everything else. Today, these worms that have been in there for, no lie, not even exaggerating, about 35-40 days now, they've been in that jar. And I've been feeding them fish food, just regular food with my fish kit, and yeah, pretty simple to keep. They'll go over into the 10-gallon today, and the 10-gallon, very simple. You don't need to fill it all the way with water because they're not going to be going up all that way. They don't go up there. They mainly chill out in the substrate, and that's kind of what I tried to mimic here. And I was on a search for like a substrate that I could use that wouldn't disintegrate and deteriorate fast, that wouldn't get all funky on me fast, and that I could actually be able to harvest the worms from fairly easy. And I came upon this stuff, which I was kind of liking because it has all the little holes in it. And this is basically just some like kitchen, some foams that you lay out in your kitchen, or your dish rack or whatever. And yeah, you just take it and you double it up a couple times, and that gives them a nice little layer to chill out in and move around in and feel safe like they naturally do. They usually stay burrowed under the ground and pop out to feed, and that kind of mimics that thing for them. I have some other plans for this. It's pretty new. This tank is actually pretty new, so I have some other plans for this, which involves actually floating some of this stuff to maximize surface area, because even in this jar I've noticed that they will hang on to like the riccia and stuff like that I got in there floating around, and they'll actually get up in there and hang on there. Even like, look, they're hanging out of the sponge filter that I have rigged up. Very simple little ghetto sponge filter I rigged up. It serves its job, it does its job, it serves its purpose. But yeah, like I said, I'll end up floating some of that to try to maximize surface area once the colony fills up all the substrate, all my substrate here, and I don't have any room. I'll float that and see what'll happen with that. And I do plan on upgrading them to a bigger tank. 10 gallons isn't really enough for what I think I want to do, so they'll go into a bin, you know what I mean, or just a Rubbermaid 15-30 gallon bin, and to keep the colony going and stuff. Rocks are to weigh this stuff down, it floats, so that's another little negative about it. It floats, so I got to put the rocks in there to weigh it down for the time being. Besides that, like I said, no heater in this tank, very simple setup. So I'm just washing the worms out. Like I said, I put them in the jar from the bag and slowly get rid of that water and put in here. Not even really slowly. You could do it fast. You don't have to drip acclimate them. Researching, some people actually do drip acclimate them. Crazy, strangely enough, but I don't. I just douse them up with some water. It's my Poland Spring. I'm kind of running low, but I try to keep it with some nice treated water, and I just fill it up and dump it out. And these worms are actually pretty clean compared to some of the other worms I've bought in the past. And actually I got a pretty good amount for what I paid, so I'm pretty happy. I paid $3 for all these guys. Usually pay about $3 for a tablespoon here. Anyway, so definitely worth it. Worth the investment to grow them out if you can. So I'm going to wash them up. And then I'm going to get these guys over here. I'm going to go ahead and siphon. I'm actually going to siphon these guys to an airline tube, not an airline tube, a python tube, siphon them through there from here to over there. It's easy to do it. And I'm actually going to take the water and all this little bottom mullum and little organic material and add that to the tank as well, because black worms do eat that. It's just they're not eating that because I've been spoiling them with fish food, so they'd rather have the fish food than the other stuff, but they will eat it and make use of it. So yeah, I just continue this washing process until basically I get clear water, until I'm pouring out clear water. So I'll continue to do that. They quickly find little holes and get down into the layers, man, but that's actually a good thing, because I'm guessing that they will be more apt to segment if they feel more comfortable. So hopefully, it doesn't look really good right now because I added all that stuff, all the new water, all the dirty water, but it will clear back up in a little bit. And got the old ones added to this tank. Now I'll get the new ones bring these new guys over here and add them to here and continue their process. As you can see, I got some like gray ones in there you can visibly see, and they will die and rot and make all the water nasty. So over the next few days you'll have to be doing a lot of water changes on these guys, and that's one of the main reasons I like using the jar, because I could just take the jar, pick it up, and move it wherever I gotta move it, do what I gotta do with it, and it's just so easy and simple for this part of it. Alright, so we transferred the old guys that I've had for about 35-45 days into the 10-gallon, let them get all up in the substrate and do their thing, and we have the new guys that I just purchased in the glass jar. And it's really important, the whole reason I did this jar next to the tank is for the quarantining process. Like I said, I do not want to be feeding fresh freaking worms I get straight from the local fish store to my fish without knowing really what's going on with the worms, and just risking it. Like I said, it's really risky, and that's a risk I'm not willing to take, and I'd rather wait. I'd rather have patience and wait on it, and that's exactly what I do. But it's really important not to transfer any water, plant material, or nothing from this jar to any other tanks in your house, or the one beside it for that matter, until you feel safe. A lot of people take that gamble and they feed a lot of fly foods. I'm just not one for that gamble. So it's really important that you kind of just keep this jar away from everything, and you try not to get any water from this jar into another tank, or else the whole quarantining process was kind of for nothing, and you know, kind of just shot your own foot there. But yeah, feeding them is pretty easy. Sorry, I'm blanking out. I'm getting tired, man. But feeding them is pretty easy. For feeding them, I use the HBH Super Soft. It's the same thing my angels are getting. And this food formula is formulated for fresh and saltwater fish, which I try to stay away from. I never like a food that's like a, you know, for everything, like a general food, you know, for general purposes. I don't like that. I kind of like doing the specialty thing, but reading the ingredients on it, I'm very happy and pleased with the ingredients. Also, the pellets are like the name says, they're super soft, so you can take them and actually crush them up in between your fingers and make them the make them basically the size you want. So it's real neat. You don't have to buy a certain size pellet for your fish. It's kind of like one fits all. You could crush it down or leave it whole or whatever you got to do. So that's what I feed the worms. I gut load them with that, and I'll be getting into feeding them other things too, but really right now I'm just learning. I'm super simple and super new to this, and I want to share what I've basically